Magandang gabi. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. I'm just doing an audio check right now, but we're live on on the denial of Laila Delima's motion for reconsideration dito sa kanyang demurrer to evidence. Okay? Itin po natin ha. Naaalala ninyo na nag-file ng demurrers to evidence, demurrers to evidence si Senator Laila De Lima in her 3 cases before the Regional Trial Court sa Muntinlupa. At dininay na dun sa 2 kaso yung kanyang demurrer to evidence, nag-file po siya ng motion for reconsideration. At itong bagong labas na desisyon ay yung desisyon ng hukuman on her motion for reconsideration dahil dininay yung demurrer niya dun sa kaso nilang dalawa ni Ronnie Dayan at kung saan they're accused of conspiring to traffic in drugs. Right? Teka, bago tayo tumuloy, don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. Double check lang po natin yung ating broadcast. Please let me know how the audio is doing. Magandang gabi sa lahat. Tingnan lang po natin kung ano nangyayari dito. Okay, and we are clear also on Facebook. Magandang gabi kay Victor Tadeo, Team Megki Lapio, Andres Oligo Marian Choco Ricarte Pascual. Okay. All right. Okay. So dito sa motion, the case involves silang dalawa ni Ronnie Dayan. Supposedly, part of the evidence, the evidence here, ang primarily yung testimony ng dalawang agents, isa yung Bureau of Corrections, OIC Ragu, at saka yung isang NBI agent. Okay? In that case, yun, si Ragu. Ragu was officer in charge, Ragos. Rafael Ragos was the Bureau of Corrections officer in charge for some period when Laila De Lima was Secretary of Justice. He, together with an NBI agent, delivered money that was given by some drug lords inside the Bureau of Corrections. Hinatid niya ito kay Secretary De Lima. Ang tumanggap po ay si Ronnie Dayan while she was looking on. Okay? Ito ang part ng evidence na pinapakita na nag-conspire sila doon sa trafficking ng drugs. Ngayon, nag-file si Laila De Lima, si Senator De Lima, ng demurrer to evidence. Ang sinasabi niya, hindi enough yung ebidensya na ipinresenta ng prosecution para makonvict siya. Gayon din ang sinasabi ni Ronnie Dayan. Dininay ito ng hukuman at sinabi, ang demurrer to evidence is to determine lang whether or not sufficient to sustain a charge of to sustain a charge of trafficking in drugs. Hold on. Baka mamatay yung phone. Hi. Siyempre, naglo-lowbat yung phone during the time na nagla-live ako. Hindi ko lang po kasi na-check. Okay, there it is. There you go. Sorry. Ayan. Ngayon, when the court denied the demurrer to evidence, nag-file ng motion for reconsideration si Senator De Lima at si Mr. Dayan, and both motions for reconsideration were denied. Ang ground ni Senator Laila is that doon sa omnibus motion setting the case for hearing, omnibus order setting the case for hearing, ilan lang ang binanggit, ilan lang yung mga evidence na prinisenta ng prosecution ang binanggit ng hukuman. Sabi ng hukuman, that is not an indication of insufficiency of evidence kasi pwede namang lahat yan isite ng hukuman in the final resolution. Hindi yan, it does not bar the court from using that evidence in the final resolution. Omnibus order lang yon, so hindi required ang hukuman na banggitin lahat ng ebidensya doon. Yung kay Ronnie Dayan naman, he filed a separate motion for reconsideration. Ang sabi niya, kasama nga lang daw niya parati si Madam Laila, pero walang ebidensya na pumayag siya doon sa pagta-traffic ng drugs. Hindi siya kasangkot doon at all he was doing was accompanying Senator Laila. Ang sabi ng, at wala daw pruweba ng conspiracy na pumayag siya at nag-benefit siya doon sa pagbebenta ng droga. Sabi ng hukuman, hindi. Sa demurrer to evidence, ang kailangan mong i-attack ay kung kahit aminin mo lahat ng ebidensya na iprininsinta ng prosecution, hindi ka pa rin mako-convict. Ang ginagawa daw ni Dayan ay ina-target niya yung quality ng ebidensya. Ang sinasabi niya, hindi proof of conspiracy yung prinisent ng kabila. Kung hindi, he was simply an innocent bystander. Parang ganon. So, sabi ng hukuman, no, it doesn't work that way. So, denied uli yung kanyang motion, denied yung motion for reconsideration, and therefore, babalik na sila uli sa trial. Okay. I'm checking your questions. Magandang gabi kay X-Lines. Nagpadala siya ng super sticker. Gorio Hibla Malyari says, vote for Lenny for PTA president. Okay. Sabi ni Sandro, Sir Rolf, like muna tayo. Sabi ni Ditsi Bautista, thank you, napakasipag daw. Sabi ni Arim Nacy Fuentes says, she's a drug trafficker and not a political prisoner. Oo, I agree. Sabi ni Sara Mercado, mga katropa, yung regalo natin sa Attorney Trix natin, handa-handa nyo na 24 days na lang. March, naalala ni Ma'am Sara, March 29. Madali po tandaan kasi magkasunod kami ni Presidente. Wala daw ako sa YouTube. Teka, double check. Balik tayo sa YouTube. Oo nga, no? Dashboard. Check ko yung live. Wala kami sa YouTube. Andyan si Sir Bobby eh. Good evening. Let me double check. Doon, back to channel. Nawala ba kami? Oh my gosh. Hindi po, andyan po kami. Sa baka nag-ads lang. Double check ko lang ha. Sorry for this interruption. Oh, ayan, we're still live. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Okay. Sabi ni Ma'am Pinay Paparazzi, we're present on YouTube. Ayun, ang dami nanonood. Si Arman Galvino, Ipemit, Jeffrey Limhoco, Joey Aurelio, John Avelino Taroy, Jovita Vinduan, Jeffrey Limhoco. No problem daw sa YouTube. Uy, thank you kay Ma'am Jackie. Andiyan na naman si Ma'am Jackie, ang sipag. Don Victor Agustin says, avid fan of Karambola and Tambayan, advanced happy birthday. Uy, malayo pa po. Ano to? May pork pa rin bang natatanggap si Delima? Uy, I'm not sure. Pero, even if she is detained, she is still a senator. So, tumatanggap pa rin pa siya ng sweldo, even if she cannot, how do you call this? Even if she cannot be present sa mga deliberations and all that. Nag-file nga siya sa Senado at saka sa court para payagan siya na mag-attend ng Senate proceedings by Zoom. So, nakahain pa po yun. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, nag-roll call daw ng mga classmates. Lady Kapangpangan says, good evening. Sabi ni Ma'am Jeanette Kimball, di nakinabang, said the frog to the fly. Sabi ni Yerd de Gleason, advanced happy birthday from Second Lieutenant de Gleason family. Shout out naman. Oy, hi to your family, Second Lieutenant de Gleason. Raina Kusinku says, watching live from Qatar. Keep safe always. And Evelyn Rivas is watching from Connecticut. Okay, so ulitin natin para dun sa medyo late dumating. Si Laila Delima is facing 3 cases in pertaining to her drug trafficking. Hi, Ma'am Etena Fule. Okay? Uh, the case that was where her motion for reconsideration was denied, ito po yung kaso na ayun, ang charge sa kanya is 1 count of violation of Section 5 of the Dangerous Drugs Act. Ang Section 5 is selling, trading, administration, dispensation, delivery, distribution, and transportation of illegal drugs. So, Branch 204 ang may hawak nito. Dito sa Branch 204, nag-file siya ng demurrer to evidence after nagpresenta na ang prosecution ng buong ebidensya nila. A demurrer to evidence means that you don't need to proceed to trial. You can dismiss the case kasi yung prinisinta na ebidensya ng prosecution ay hindi sufficient to sustain a conviction. Ngayon, yung demurrer to evidence na final both ni Laila Delima at saka ni Ronnie Dayan, dininay po yan. Sabi ng hukuman, sufficient yung ebidensya. And in fact, yung ebidensya laban sa inyong dalawa is strong. Kaya hindi rin po sila entitled to bail. Ay, nag-file ngayon silang dalawa ng motion for reconsideration. Ang sinasabi ni Madam Laila is, doon sa omnibus order setting the case for hearing and requiring her to present evidence, sinabi ng hukuman ay wala diyang hindi binanggit ng hukuman lahat ng ebidensya. And in fact, pati dun sa sagot sa kanyang demurrer to evidence. So sinasabi ni Madam Laila, since hindi sinasite ng hukuman lahat ng ebidensya na prinisinta ng prosecution, yung nandun lang sa omnibus order ang dapat i-consider. At kung yung ebidensya lang na nandun sa order na yon ang i-consider, hindi yan sufficient to sustain a finding of guilt. Sabi ng hukuman, no, we're not required to present all of the evidence in an omnibus order. We're required to do that at the end, dun sa resolution. And for now, there is sufficient evidence to sustain a conviction. Matindi yung sinasabi ng court, ha? It means na pag hindi nagpresenta ng ebidensya si Madam, she will be convicted. Eh, sabi naman ni Ronnie Dayan, kasama lang ako ni Madam. Just because I was always with her doesn't mean nag-conspire ako dito sa drug trafficking. Bakit significant yung sinasabi ni Ronnie Dayan? It means na in a way, inaamin niya yung sinasabi ng prosecution na may drug trafficking dito, pero hindi siya kasama. Not exactly, not directly, but it already sounds like that. Right? Ang sinasabi niya, kasama lang ako. So even if meron siyang drug trafficking, kasama lang ako. Hindi ako, walang ebidensya na nagpapatunay na kung conspirator ako, na kasama ako dun sa pagpaplano o sa pumayag ako dun sa pagta-traffic ng droga para nga mag-raise ng pera sa kanyang senatorial campaign ni Madam. So sabi ng hukuman, hindi. Nagdi-demurrer to evidence ka lang. Para sa demurrer to evidence, ibig sabihin nun, kahit buong-buo, aminin mo yung ebidensya ng prosecution, hindi ka pa rin mako-convict. Ang ginagawa ni Dayan, kini-question niya yung ebidensya na prinisinta showing na may conspiracy sila. Sabi ng court, doesn't work that way. Kaya tuloy kayo sa hearing. Magpresenta kayo ng ebidensya. Sabi ni Julius Haron, he's watching from KSA. Happy birthday to his brother. Okay. Okay. Ito naman sa Ma'am Jackie, agyo ko sana ng bad news kasi not feeling well, kaya lang need talaga malaman kahit paano mga current events. I hate to listen to the names. So, Ma'am, hindi po ito bad news. Good news po ito kasi dininay ng hukuman yung motion for reconsideration ni Madam. So, ang nangyari is that she tried to, di ba dininay yung demurrer niya? Kung pinayagan kasi siya mag-demurrer at sinabi ng hukuman, tama ka, it means dismiss na yung kaso niya. Pero hindi ganun yung nangyari. Sinabi ng hukuman, there is enough evidence here to convict you. So, you have to present evidence para masalag niya yung ebidensya na iprinisinta ng prosecution. And if she or Ronnie Dayan don't do that, then they will be convicted. Sino yung nagpapabate? Telay says, batiin mo naman ako. Nasa Turkey daw siya. Ami Calonso says, natatabunan mukha mo ng mga comments sa YouTube. Sa YouTube? O sige, ditanggalin natin yung ano. Sige, Albert Laborte says, if convicted, automatic bang disbarment or will wait for the final CA? No, ang disbarment po kailangan mag-file ng separate na kaso. Ako, iniintay ko lang, wala ba sa inyo ang gustong mag-file dyan? Kasi inamin naman niya yung kanyang frailties of a woman. Ito, there is sufficient evidence para ipakita nagta-traffic siya sa droga. Alam nyo ba na for administrative purposes, kumbaga sa civil service, kapag ikaw ay pumasa may finding na ng probable cause sa iyo at tumuloy na sa trial, that's sufficient evidence para tanggalin ka na sa civil service. Hindi ka na ma-dismiss ka kung ikaw ay isang empleyado or opisyal sa gobyerno, maliban lang kung political appointee ka. Okay? O sige, hindi ko na po i-highlight yung mga yung mga comments ninyo. Sabi ni Lynn Tugado, pa-shoutout naman para sa Thanksgiving of life of my late husband Edwin last March 3 po. Okay? Kay Ma'am Lynn Tugado po yon. Could it be, sabi ni Sultan Rael Yanguas, could it be possible na wala talagang alam si Dayan, basta ang alam lang niya is may pinapapick lang siya na pera ni Madam Laila? That should be his defense. Pero mahirap kasi patunayan yung hindi ko alam. 'Di ba? Mas madali patunayan yung, well, anong papatunayan mo? Kunwari, tinanggap mo, bag lang, hindi mo nakita may pera yan. Magtataka ka kasi, tumatanggap ng ganong kalaking pera. Tapos they're very intimate. Imposibleng hindi, well, that's not proof. It's very likely that he knew about it. Anyway, may presentation nga ng ebidensya na tinanggap niya yung pera at tinanggap niya galing kay Ragos, who was the OIC of the Bucor at the time. At kasama din ni Ronnie Dayan, si Madam Laila, all the time dun sa kanyang mga sa kanyang paglabas-labas at pagpunta dun sa Bureau of Corrections. Okay. Thank you kay Marilyn Tefyanco. Marilyn Cacho says, good evening. Sabi nga ni Datu Vader, di ba parang admission yung statement ni Dayan regarding drug trafficking involving Laila Delima? It certainly sounds that way. Pero, and the prosecution can probably use that. It's probably persuasive, but unless he testifies to it under oath, you can cite it, but it will not be able to stand alone. Tinatanong ni Tatang Onyok, so nasa na daw si Baraan? I don't know. Titingnan natin kung na-dismiss na ba yung kaso na yon o naka-archive lang. Okay, tignan natin po dun sa sa Facebook, hindi ko nababasa yung mga komento ninyo. Sandali. Okay. Sabi ni Journaly Payonan, ma'am, tilt down ang camera, sayang yung comment ng viewers. Tilt down yung camera. Teka, naguguluhan na ako sa inyo. Ang sabi ni Rodel, bakit parang iniikutan lang ni Trillanes ang batas? Kailan kaya makukulong kasama si Laila? Hindi po, kasi he's already undergoing trial, di ba? Meron pa siyang take note, hindi po nanalo si Trillanes. Ang napadismiss lang niya, yung napabaliwala lang niya, ay yung mga orders ng hukuman for the issuance of his warrant of arrest and for his whole departure order at saka yung denial ng motion for reconsideration dito. Huwag niyong iisipin na pinapaikutan ni Sani yung batas. Hindi. The courts have to abide by the letter and the spirit of the law. Just because ayaw natin kay Trillanes doesn't mean na hindi na tayo susunod dun sa procedures ng batas. Although tama siya na the court should not have issued a warrant of arrest, ang sinabi ng Court of Appeals, pwedeng mag-file ng certiorari, ng motion for new trial or petition for relief from judgment kasi may bagong ebidensya, or meron ding pwede ring nullification of the judgment. Okay? Si Kev Vincent says, I mean sa disbarment case at dismissal from civil service. Well, hindi po kasi, ang senator kasi, ang mga elected officials po kasi, it's not that easy to remove them. Tapos, kung tatanggalin si Madam, dapat, for an administrative case, dapat finailan siya ng administrative case. Wala pong nag-file. Hindi po, ang file lang yung criminal case. So, kailangan filean siya. Kung sa disbarment, she has to have a separate, there also has to be a complaint for that. Teka, say hi to Yoshi. Hey Yoshi, say hi. Stop. Go back down. Okay. Nagha-hi lang si Yoshi. Okay, down boy. Sorry. Okay. Kunwari lang daw yung ginawang raid ni Delima sa Bilibid, sabi ni John Atlas Tumlos. Oo. Sabi ni Arimne, Trillanes is not yet off the hook. Naku, nawala yung comment mo. Sooner or later, he will be convicted. Tuwa ko lang. Sabi ni Ma'am Lynette, very interesting talaga yung topic mo parate. Ronald Bravo says, dapat dyan si Mrs. ni Diane ang nagsampa ng kaso kay Madam. Totoo po yan. Pero that would be a case for concubinage. Bigatin daw yung mga viewers nyo. Nandyan si Attorney Darwin, si Franco Mabanta, at si Maricar Serrano. Hi guys! Thank you for watching. Ma'am Miriam Martinez says, ang gwapo ni Yoshi. Sabi ni Arman Gavino, sobrang bagal ng justice system. Di ba pwede sa atin ang jury system? What makes you think that the jury system will be faster? Okay? It has nothing to do with that. So whether it's, in fact, a judge's decision would possibly be faster because you don't have to deal with a hung jury. And remember, in order to institute a jury system here, we have to change the Constitution. Isa dun sa mga karapatan na nasa Bill of Rights ng US, which we adopted in full, except for two rights. Dalawa yung karapatan na hindi isinama sa ating Bill of Rights nung nag-create ng mga proto-constitutions ang US. You remember the Tidings-McDuffie Act and all the other proto-constitutions after that? Hindi kasama yung right to a jury trial and the right to bear arms. So we have to change that. But that doesn't mean it's going to be any faster. Ang nakakabagal talaga sa mga proceedings natin is the caseload of the judges. Masyadong maraming hawak na kaso yung hukuman natin, yung mga hurado natin. So it's not the system. Kasi as much as possible, pinababago, pinabibilis ng ating Korte Suprema yung sistema. We cannot skip certain portions of that, like presenting the witness and allowing the accused to confront his witnesses. Hindi po pwede tayong mag-waive ng mga karapatan natin. Pero yung mga judges are really overburdened. They have, so sometimes each regional trial court judge, especially sa metropolitan areas, naghahawak ng 3,000 to 4,000 cases. Sipin mo, magsusulat ka ng decision at hinihiring mo lahat yan almost as often as you can. So you can't schedule, kunwari, daily hearings. Kasi masyadong marami. Sabi ni Tito Dong TV, di ba may batas na tayo sa fake news? Bakit di pa rin napaparusahan si Pia Ranyada? Okay, let me read to you the law. I'll just look for it. Article 154 Revised Penal Code. Okay? Ang natin is false publications. That's the closest. Wala tayong law on fake news because that might be an infringement on our freedom of speech. Okay. Article 154 says, hanapin ko pa sandali. Mahirap dun sa, alright. Article 154 says, unlawful means of publication and unlawful utterances. Any person who by means of printing, lithography, or other means of publication shall publish or cause to be published as news any false news which may endanger public order or cause damage to the interest or credit of the state. Okay? So, kailangan patunayan na may endanger to public order, cause damage to the interest or credit of the Philippines. So, hindi yung mga ordinary na na fake news lang ang pinaparusahan. Kailangan nayayanig yung bansa. Yung isa pa is any person who by the same means or by words, utterances, or speeches shall encourage disobedience to the law or to the constituted authorities or praise, justify, or extol any act punishable by law. Yan ang mas madali. So, babantayan natin ngayon yung mga NPA who are online. Diba? Lalong-lalo na yung mga pumupuri doon sa sa mga labag sa batas. But at the same time, you have to be careful also. And finally, any person, may dalawa pa, who shall maliciously publish or cause to be published any official resolution or document without proper authority before they have been published officially. Tapos, any person who shall print, publish, or distribute or cause to be printed, published, or distributed books, pamphlets, periodicals, or leaflets which do not bear the printer's name, the real printer's name, or which are classified as anonymous. Okay? So yun po, yung false publications na that's the closest to giving a penalty to false news, to fake news. In comments. Magandang gabi. Sabi ni Neil Joseph Arakan, can the Supreme Court increase the number of judges? If they can, what is stopping them? I know they have a separate budget that they can build courtrooms. You don't know how small the judiciary's budget is? Remember that while the Congress cannot diminish the budget of the judiciary, and then there is also a judiciary fund that they get from the docket fees, some of the docket fees, it's never going to, well, it's not enough. Okay? Because they don't always have the property to build the courts in. Dapat nga, lahat yan naka-house. Very recently lang po, nag-increase ng space ang Quezon City pero hindi sila nakadagdag ng courtrooms. They had to move the prosecutor's office to another building para ma-occupy yung mga offices nila in the Hall of Justice ng mga courtrooms. So I think that you have you don't know how small the budget is of the judiciary actually. Sabi ni Nene Aya, ganun po ba katagal matapos ang isang kaso bago mahatulan despite the evidence presented? Please don't say evidences. Evidences is a verb. Ibig bang sabihin magkaapod pa tayo nito at mabubulok di muna si Delima bago mahatulan? Madam, I think we need to have a talk about what constitutes a speedy trial. There is in the Constitution a right to speedy trial. Pero kaninong karapatan yon? Hindi sa ating mga meron, kung hindi para dun sa akusado. Kasi para sa akusado, dapat mabilis ang trial para kung hindi siya guilty, tapos na. 'Di ba? Ang hearing and there's no sword of Damocles hanging over his or her head. Ang magsasabi na masyadong mabagal ang proceedings, hindi po tayong mga nakikinood lang kung hindi yung akusado. Okay? Why are you frustrated? Because, one, the hearings aren't every day, okay? Except for some cases. Second, because of the huge workload, you can only possibly take one witness at a time. Iba pa yung araw para sa marking of evidence. Iba pa yung araw for pre-trial. Yung pre-trial is where you set and you can agree to the issues and make admissions para hindi napapatunayan yung ibang mga circumstances. Okay? I think that people think that the trial should be as quick as the ones that you see on television, but that is impossible for us under this present system. Every year, every time, the Supreme Court tries to make it faster. But until we have better caseloads for our judges, who are overloaded, as well as our prosecutors who have to be the ones to be prosecuting the case, then we will have to live with this kind of pace of justice. And that is not justice delayed, madam. And please try to understand, this is not the right of people watching. It is the right of the accused. Uh, Sabi ni Ma'am Yolanda Yoshida, for sure Senator Delima wouldn't want a speedy trial kasi diretso bilibid po siya. I don't think so because nakakulong siya. Okay, ang pinakang nangangailangan ng speedy trial ay yung mga taong nakakulong na, yung mga non-bailable. Kasi if they really believe they're innocent, edi makakalabas sila kagad. Pero kung guilty ka at nakakulong ka naman, di dapat ipamadali mo na yung kaso para time served na lang. Sabi ni Toledo Ferry, nasanay kasi ang Pilipino sa judgment ni FPJ, may hatol agad. Sabi ni Leonilo Porras, isa lang, isang ask lang, hindi ba pwedeng kasuhan ng mga nasa kongreso na nagre-recruit ng kabataan upang maging rebeldeng NPA? Pwedeng-pwede po kung may ebidensya. Okay? So, I think you need to ask. Merong propaganda war at nakikilahok ang AFP dyan. Pero once the evidence is sufficient, they will file their case in court. Okay? Kasi, tingnan mo yung ginagawa ng mga NPA at saka yung mga ibang nakikisimpatiya sa kanila. They conduct propaganda warfare. Hindi sila makafile ng mga kaso, so sisiraan na lang nila. Ha? Ngayon, alam nga naman hindi sumalag ang AFP. So, sasali sila sa ganyan. But I think you're mistaking the acoustic warfare for evidence. Kailangan ebidensya. Ano yung ebidensya na required dyan? Kailangan may testigo ka. Testigo din yung ni-recruit. Di ba? Sinong kumausap, sinong ano, and then present evidence of all of that. Ngayon, yung mga bumaba, mga rebel returnees, are they willing to go to court? If they are, then their testimony will count as evidence. Ang tanong, why have they not filed their cases? Alam ko, merong iba na nag-file na, pero hindi masyadong bibigyan ng pansin. So, yun ang iintayin po natin, assuming na sufficient yung evidence. Hey, I think you're also a little confused kasi lahat tayo morally convinced of the guilt of some of our government officials. Pero yung moral conviction natin, hindi po yan ebidensya. You still have to prove every single element of the crime. Okay? So, this is necessary because you will have an objective judge who will pass judgment on that. Kung sa tingin ng mga prosecutors natin o yung mga police o AFP natin na hindi kumpleto yung ebidensya for a slam dunk case, hindi pa nila i-file yan no matter how convinced they are or you are. We are not following your timetable, we are following the evidence. Sabi ni Eugene, napundot na naman. Eugene, dapat ang new Senate building or Congress building at Supreme Court ilagay malapit sa Malacanang, parang capital state. I disagree. Para pagka nagka full scale rebellion, isang sweep lang in one area tapos tayo. All the how do you call this? All the institutions of government bagsak in one blow. Sabi ni Ma'am Pinay Paparazzi, yung mangalap lang ng evidence na viable to be used in court takes time para maging tight-knit yung case at makapagbigay ng nararapat na hatol yung judge based on the evidence presented. Okay. So sabi ni Madam Zamboanga, parang yung nangyari sa Capitol. Sabi ni Tiende Pamodsi, pa-shoutout po sa mga 2K ni Nayo ng Baguio. I hope I didn't say something bad. Sabi ni Ronald Bravo, all the buayas in one place. Yes, but you don't want to take in the innocent with the guilty. Sa amin, in the courts, mas mabuti na yung magpakawala ka ng 10 guilty kesa magkulong ka ng iisa lang na inosente. Sobrang unfair yon. Sabi ni Raymond Pataray, paano kung sakaling na-dismiss talaga yung kaso kay Delima, wag naman sana. May chance ba siya magkaso ng moral damages at kanino? Wala po. Wala po. Hindi po malicious yung pagpo-prosecute sa kanya. Well, she can try to file for damages, pero may ebidensya eh. So it's not likely to prosper. Sabi ni Dudong Lando, kung meron ng verdict kay Delima na guilty siya, ano po mangyayari sa mga years na nakulong siya? Ibabawas ba yun sa conviction niya? Well, according to the revised penal code, that's time served. Pero, she has 3 cases ha, so titignan natin how they're all appreciated. Tinatanong ni Alvin Fornolias ano yung result ng kaso ni Satur Ocampo at Franz Castro na kidnapping sa Talaingod. Wala pa po akong balita although I understand some of the charges have been dropped or dismissed. Sabi ni Log Yortan Bangay Alvarez, bakit ma'am hindi ba sufficient ang mga testimony ng mga surrenderies para makulong ang Makabayan Black? Ang tanong, nagkaso na ba sila? Okay? Have you heard of any of the cases filed? Sabi ni Charm Hugal, sige lang ng salita at nagluluto ako ng tanghalian. Sabi ni Danny General, since malapit ng 2022, pwede ba ulit tumakbo si Delima sa eleksyon as long as she's not convicted? Royal Alcantara says, I think hindi inamend yung GCTA law ay para makinabang si Delima kung sakaling makonvict. Well, I don't know about that. But the Senate and Congress had an opportunity to do that, but they have not done so. Luis Vlog says, tanong ko lang po, bakit po lakas ng loob ni Trillanes magsalita na napapakulong niya si Duterte? Meron po ba siyang pinanghahawakan na pwede niyang ikaso kay Duterte? Well, I can't read his mind. But personally, I don't think so. Sabi ni Danny De Guzman, shout out daw. Hindi ko na nakita. Bong Rivera says, more power to you. BJ Can says, labag ba yung kumakanta parang videoke sa kainan na maraming tao? Kung oo, pasok ba yung pagkanta ni Corina Sanchez? I don't know what you're talking about, seriously. Jepoy Olivo is reporting that Pope Francis already arrived in Baghdad. Uy, historic visit. Sabi ni, di ko mabasa yung name kasi ano ba siya, Chinese characters or Korean? Paano kung namatay lahat ng convicted witnesses ng dahil sa COVID like JB Sebastian? Mag-stand pa din ba ang kaso ni Delima? It depends. Kung napresenta na sila at na-cross-examine na sila, it will still stand. Kung hindi pa po sila nako-cross-examine, posibleng ma-dismiss yung kanilang testigo. Kung hindi pa po sila tumitestigo, the best that the prosecution can do is to adopt yung minutes doon sa congressional hearing and make it part of the body of evidence. They'll have a witness to present it as the true records, pero that's the second best that they can do. Dwayne Anglo says, si ex-Yusek Baraan ba, kailan ba kakasuhan? Panay dakdak ng anak niya na si Frank. I understand that there was an investigation, pero hindi pa yata siya nakakasuhan or hindi pa naghihiring. So, I'm not sure about the status of his case. Sabi ni Samuanga Hermosa File, sa vlog po yan ni Mike and Nelly, kumanta si Corina Sanchez randomly in videoke sa isang restaurant in Baguio. Okay. It's not a crime, guys. Bakit ba kayo galit kay Corina for singing? Working in Lyon, France, si Rufino Ubana. Truckers, Europe. Sabi ni Logyortan, God bless. Ingat po kayo lagi. Kailangan kayo ng bayan. Mangalonzo Catherine says, hello. Noni Galang says, we knew that Pinoy has a lot to answer to the Filipino citizens as of date. What are the cases filed against him? I hope he will face all these cases if ever. Wala po. Diba? Winidraw yung kaso niya because it was a weak case para sa usurpation. Sabi ni Samka, please use a UV protected and glare blocking eyewear to protect your eyes. Thank you. I will try. Actually, I'm squinting because I'm nearsighted. So if I sit too far from what I'm reading, I won't be able to see it. Yun lang po yan. Roque says, hindi ba kayo nagsasawa sa pamumulitika ng mga dilawan? Ako makita ko lang sa social media, di ko na binabasa kasi walang kwenta kasi puro pakit sa media, alam na malapit ng 2022. I think the danger is magiging jaded nga tayo at pasawa. Pero may mga bagay na kailangan pakialaman natin. Halimbawa, electoral reform. Diba? Dapat pinag-uusapan yan at hindi dapat tayo nagsasawa. Zublik's client says, oops, pwede po ba tanggalin sa Constitution ang pagkakaroon ng Vice President if we amend the Constitution? Pwede po. Ellie Dalay says, good evening, keep safe. Raymond Pataray says, sobrang dami ko talagang natututunan about legal matters. Mabuhay po kayo. Bong Perlado says, sorry, ang bilis eh. Naku, nawala. Okay, Gorio Hibla Mariali says, bakit tahimik si Pinoy? Ano na po ba balita sa kanya? Kasi may nasabi na friend ko, nasa ICU daw siya. Huwag muna natin pagkalat yung mga unconfirmed medical information should not be, the topic of idle gossip, even if we don't like the person. Sabi ni Judy Moning, bakit po yung mga simpleng kawani ng gobyerno napakadaling tanggalin dahil sa immorality? Bakit si Delima na umamin pa ay di matanggal? Di po ba dapat mas mataas ang standard ng moralidad nila? Ay, di ba? Matagal na natin pinag-uusapan yan dito. Sinasabi natin, especially when it comes to the senators and the congressmen, mahirap talaga silang tanggalin. Kasi kahit may findings ang ombudsman, kailangan ang magtatanggal lang sa kanila either yung Senado kung senador o Kongreso kung kongresista. At dadaan pa sa ethics committee nila na pwedeng matulog ng 6 na taon or 3 taon, depende. Diba? However, this does not mean that you cannot file a case against Senator Delima for disbarment. Kasi inamin naman po niya. Iniintay ko nga na may mag-file eh. You just need to attach the evidence and where did she admit this? Kunwari, if I understand she admitted this in Congress. So, if that was under oath, you just need to attach the minutes of the congressional hearing where she admitted it under oath and file a complaint with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will order the IBP to conduct an investigation to see kung papasok talaga siya sa violation ng Code of Ethics. And if so, it will go back to the Supreme Court for it to become official or to be upheld by the Supreme Court and then be part of the records. But that's a good observation, ha? Lori Lee Agustin says, pa-shout out naman, she's watching from Bahrain. Okay. Bakit di po gumawa ng batas na pag nanalo ang presidente, carried na rin ang vice president niya? Kasi po nasa saligang batas natin, hindi tayo pwede gumawa ng batas na taliwas sa ating constitution. Yung ethics complaint ni Senator Gordon kay Trillanes, walang nangyari. I think it was dismissed. Ayaw po nilang magboto. So, yeah. Sabi ni Mary's Angel, oops, ang bilis. Grabe, ang daming nawala. Ay! Sabi ni Ma'am Sambuanga Hermosa Files, at lawyer pa si Delima, may code of ethics for disbarment. Supposed to be, yes. Sabi ni Raul Garduno, anyari sa mga revelasyon ng mga dating NPA kagaya ni Ka Eric, nagtatanga-tangahan ba si Senator Lacson at hindi niya makita yung grabidad ng mga testimonya nito? Actually, that's not true. Doon kung binasa po ninyo yung Senate report ni Senator Lacson, he included that. So, di ba yung purpose ng Senate hearing ay to determine kung ang red tagging ba ay dapat gawing batas para maparusahan yung mga nare-red tag. So, ang sinasabi dun sa Senate report, hindi po sufficient at meron namang mga opportunities or may mga ibang batas naman na pwedeng sagutin yung mga paratang ng mga yon. So, yung mga sinasabi ng kaliwa or ni na Teddy Casino, ni na Nery Colmenares, na nire-red tag sila and therefore nanganganib ang buhay nila, sabi ni Senator Lacson, edi mag-file kayo ng kaso ninyo. Pero yung pagkatestigo kasi ng mga ni Ka Eric and all that, hindi po para sa kaso yon, pero para doon sa Senate investigation kung gagawin ng krimen ang red tagging. So yung purpose ng investigation was to determine whether or not a law is to be passed. Mm. Sabi ni Sin, correct, yan ang isa sa nagpapahirap gawang batas ng mga gahaman. Dwayne Anglo says, speaking of baraan, medical reason kung bakit umalis sa bansa si Jed Mabilog, si ex-mayor Jed Mabilog, wala bang limitasyon sa mga nakasuhan kagaya ni Mabilog o baka naman asylum ang ginawa niya? Okay. Once na-discover na yung crime, merong tinatawag na period of prescription. Beyond those number of years, hindi na pwedeng ituloy yung kaso. But in the case of drug trafficking, ang prescriptive period is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 20 years or 40 years, 20 years. So, we have 20 years to file the case. If he comes back before that, pwede pa rin siyang arestuhin kung tapos na yung preliminary investigation. Rinaldo Hamili says, pwede bang testigo sa kaso nakakulong, nagpaniwalaan po ba yan, papaniwalaan yan sa hukuman? Why not? Ito yung qualifications ng witness. If you are an eyewitness, you're capable of seeing and appreciating. Meaning, kunwari, nakikita mo, pero hindi mo, wala kang mental capacity to appreciate what's going on, then wala yon. So, what a witness is somebody who, through the use of his senses, can give testimony on something that has happened that he has perceived with his senses. Okay? So, anong connection po ng nakakulong? Kasi iniisip ninyo na credibility is a factor in giving testimony. That would be an ad hominem argument. Halimbawa, kunwari ako, sabihin mo ng masamang tao ako and I'm the devil incarnate. But if I say 1 plus 1 equals 2, I will still be right. Diba? So it doesn't change the objective fact, no matter who says it. So kung yung nagsasalita, kahit sabihin pa natin na convicted prisoner yan, pero nakita niya yung transaction, witness pa rin sila and they're still capable of giving testimony. Now, yung kalaban can attack credibility, but I'm telling you, sa atin-atin lang, in social media, it's possible to be swayed by credibility or the background of a person. But a witness is somebody who appreciates an event through his senses. Sabi ni Wendell Amaril, first time makinig, grabe, ulit-ulitin ko na, sobrang unbiased ang paliwanag. Daming natututunan regarding sa batas ng Pilipinas. Thank you and more power. Aaron Lee says, whatever happened to the case or issue on gold smuggling or illegal transfer by Pinoy, Dilon, Rojas, and Delima, I seem to recall reading an article that it was dismissed by the Office of the Ombudsman because there was no evidence presented. Sabi ni Avelino Taroy, ask ko lang, di ba pwedeng tanggalin yung Ethics Committee both from Senate at Congress at magtayo ng separate aside from the Ombudsman? Eto yung tanong ko, it's quite possible. Pero sino yung gagawa ng batas? Diba? Isn't that the conundrum here? You don't want this law because it benefits the congressmen and the senators way too much. But the only way to remove that is for them to enact the law. Now, how are we going to do this? Sabi ni Yolanda Ortiz, bakit yung NBI ang tagal mahanap si Andy Bautista? Totoo bang kwento sa akin na after sila nag-usap sila ni P. Duterte, pinatawad niya? I seriously don't believe that story, but I am wondering kung bakit hindi nagkakaso ang NBI or hindi nila talaga hinahanap, which means that they lied to the Senate before. Sabi nila, they located him and they're working on it, pero never did. And they never filed the cases. Yun ang mas telling. Dapat nga kinakasuhan yung ahente sa NBI kasi meron na silang ebidensya but they have not been filing the case. Bakit ba ang hari ng pera Kongreso, gawa sila ng gawa ng batas, sabi ni Efraim Malalay, para magkapera? Hindi lahat, pero sa palagay ko above 70% ang may gusto. Well, remember sa tambayan, we pointed out na karamihan ng mga batas na ipinapasa ay prangkisa. Diba? Mahal kasi ang eleksyon Sabi ni Marcison, mabuti naman at denied. I find it very unfair she will be set free. Ma'am Cristina Hermosura says, pwede bang mag-file ulit yung mga dating kaso na ni-dismiss ni Ma'am Conchita? Yes, of course, if there's sufficient evidence. Excuse me. Ang dami ko po talagang natututunan. Sabi ni Ma'am Nene, unending na pasasalamat po sa inyo. Ingat po kayo parati. Glenn Resurrection, I lost your message. Ayan. Good evening. Nice watching and listening to your program. Very nice topic, very informative. Keep safe always. Ma'am Gina says, lagi ko kayong pinapanood. Thank you, Ma'am. Watching from Hong Kong siya. John Atlas Tumlos is answering somebody else. Okay. Sabi ni Roman Tristan, good evening. He's watching from Taiwan and Nedi Decena says, ang cute daw ng kilay ko pag tumataas. Ito, sabi ni Betty Austria, thank you for your time. Danny De Guzman says, are you in favor of federalism? I don't answer questions anymore on federalism because no matter what I answer, somebody always gets angry enough and keeps bashing us online. And it's such a waste of time and breath. So no, I refuse to discuss federalism. Sabi ni Mike Ortesa, interesting topic all the time. Okay, wala na yatang mga tanong. Kung mahal ang eleksyon, sabi ni Joe Enriquez, bakit naghahabol pa rin silang makaupo? Nagpapatayan pa nga yung iba. Well, it must be that they get something in return, either power or something else that gives them power. But there's always, for them, a fair exchange. Hi. Guys, go! Okay. Iko Basilio says, regarding House Bill 1987, also known as the Philippine Responsible Driving and Accountability Act, may update po ba dito? I have not followed it, so I can't really answer your question yet. Pagirex says, I know for sure that you will support the parliamentary system, or perhaps I hope you do. Well, I already gave an opinion on that and got nothing in return except a lot of grief. Even if I was already agreeing, ay nako. No. And that's the problem. When you bash people for having an opinion, then you lose the benefit of that opinion later on, di ba? Sabi ni Sonny Doloroso, bakit wala pa rin yung pet resolution sa BBM case? Kailan na kaya lalabas yon? Ay, isa pa yun, di ba? Isa sa mga mahiwaga na pangyayari. Meron akong na-miss. Missy. Thank you, Kay at Napule. All right, let me see. Teresa Fantasni, thank you very much. Uh, Thank you for sharing your precious time. For babies are jealous now. They have a time limit for me to do live. It's almost always just 1 hour, but we still have about 6 minutes left. So, advantage kaya sila nag-uunahan manalo kahit mahal. Sabi ni Ian, naalala ko pa yung election ad ni Delima, Crime Buster. Kuno daw in black and white yun. Yung pala, siya nag-aalaga ng kubol sa bilibid. The irony of it all. Cesar Gonzalez asks kung paano ba ma-blacklist ang party list ni Sarate at Ilago. Actually, I posted the rules ng COMELEC o yung grounds kung paano matatanggal ang mga party lists. They can have their registration revoked if they commit a crime or encourage the commitment of a crime, or they receive money from a foreign country. So, kaya kinasuhan ng NTF-ELCAC ang Gabriela because they received money from a foreign country and they did not report it. Okay? So, yung may mga ganon, I will repost the rules sa Luminous para makita ninyo. Sabi ni Ian, wala palang kaso si Noy Noy. Wala po siyang kaso sa SAF 44 ending vaction. Need info lang po, wala pa po. Ma'am Marilyn Malones says, more projects, more fun in their pockets. Rossini says, ang dami niya talagang natututunan from karambola to tambayan to your personal life. Thank you for sharing. Okay, last question from Catherine. Sabi niya, about sa deadline sa June, mahal po ba nagastos kung patay na ang original owner ng land? Oh, I'm so sorry. I should not be advising you on your personal cases because I have no access to your documents. It would not be fair. I might answer something and it would be wrong. So, I know that the amnesty doon sa estate taxes is for June pero pinapa-extend po ng Kongreso. We will see what happens with that one. Sabi ni Vaude Villoria, di ba may bagong isinampang kaso sina Atty. Topacio kay Pinoy? May third time asking. Bakit? Galit ka ba pag hindi ko nababasa yung question ninyo? Please don't do this. Ay, masyado namang passive-aggressive yung tanong. Okay, nagsampa sila but there is no decision from the ombudsman yet. And therefore, it's only a complaint filed. Okay? Bakit kayo sa akin nagagalit? Di naman ako nag-file. Paano tayo kung sa darating na halalan ang gamitin, Smartmatic, sabi ni Vic Lunzaga, Smartmatic pa rin, ano na mangyayari sa Pinas? Saan kukuha ng tamang iboboto kung di naman makakarating? Okay, the one thing we cannot do is not vote. Okay, we still have to vote. Bakit? Kasi naipanalo pa rin natin si Presidente kahit may Smartmatic. Which means kung sino yung dapat maging Presidente natin should win by a slam dunk. Malaki dapat yung agwat dun sa kasunod. Otherwise, ang sinasabi kasi is that Smartmatic can only do so much. So, they cannot reverse a huge gap or a huge difference. Masyadong mapapansin. So that's the best that we can do, assuming na mayroong Smartmatic pa rin and magkaroon ng issues later on. Sabi ni Ma'am Sambuanga, mabasa o hindi mabasa comment ko, okay lang sa akin. Ang importante, nakapost ako ng comment. Sa totoo lang, if I don't catch your question during the live, I sometimes go back on your comments and answer some of them. So, huwag kayong magagalit. Si Ma'am Sambuanga Hermosa, she's always on Karambola and Tambayan and on live, even on YouTube. So, lalo na sa YouTube, pagka yung mga komento dun sa comment section, not sa live, nasasagot po yun. Kasi kukonti lang yung nagtatanong dun eh. Sabi ni Mindfreak, FB problems with Lenny Trolls, how to solve po at yung pag-delay nila ng notifications like me, all notifications laging 24 to 30 hours late, pero nakalagay just now. Naku, problema din yan. Well, first, especially sa Facebook, when you're following Luminous, i-double check ninyo. Kung di pa rin kayo na-notify, what you have to do is unfollow, then click like, and then follow, and then put into favorites. Okay? Pagka ganon, always click again the like and unfollow, then click like and then click follow. It messes with the algorithm. I don't know why, but it seems to help some of the followers. Arman says, anong breed ng mga dogs nyo, lalo na yung golden brown in color? They're both golden brown in color. Harry is a dachshund. Yoshi is a pure mutt, I think. Ewan ko, meron daw silang iniimbento na breed for him. I think he's half dachshund, half retriever. Panggok kaya, but he's very, very smart. Both of them are. Bakit hindi ma-impeach yung mga taga-COMELEC kung sila mismo yung ayaw matanggal yung Smartmatic? Well, somebody has to file a case for impeachment against them. And parang because marami sila, parang removing just one is problematic. Okay, here's the other thing. Karamihan na nakaupo sa COMELEC, appointees na ng presidente. And yet, somehow, pag pumapasok sila into the COMELEC, something happens and Smartmatic still wins. Diba? Remember this also. Senator Amy Marcos tried to make sure that pwedeng matanggal yung Smartmatic by not requiring, by allowing the COMELEC to waive certain requirements. Naalala niyo to? And then one lawyer, I understand it was Attorney Marañon, claimed na siningit daw ni Senator Amy yon dun sa GAA para daw para to dispense with the requirements of bidding. The purpose of that was to be able to give the COMELEC a free hand to remove Smartmatic dahil merong provision that requires previous experience in a Philippine electoral setting for the COMELEC to bid out to others. Smartmatic lang po ang nakapag-comply dun sa requirement na yon. So Senator Amy tried to make it fairer by allowing the COMELEC to waive that provision. Si Attorney Marañon was the one, inintriga pa nila si Senator Amy, tried to make it look like Senator Amy was trying to get in a corrupt provision when actually what she was trying to do, and valiantly, if I may add, was trying to give the COMELEC a free hand to be able to bid out to someone other than Smartmatic. I think we need to appreciate Senator Amy as well as Senator Bongbong for what they have done to bring about awareness on our problems with the electoral process. Okay. Sabi ni Philippine French, we need to vote for BBM or Sara for them to win in a landslide para matalo natin ang Smartmatic. Yes. George Gonzalez says, makakasuhan ba ako pag nakita ko si Madam Lenny tapos niguan ko na dikitan niya ng mighty band ang bunganga niya? Yes. Please don't do that. You can criticize her. Pero insulting is something else. Now, we can heckle our public officials. That's not a problem. Yung mga kantsaw-kantsaw natin sa social media, perfectly acceptable. Dapat hindi balat sibuyas yung ating mga government officials. Ilang beses nang sinabi ng Korte Suprema yan, cannot be onion skin. Pero iba naman yung malicious yung pagsasalita natin sa kanila. It's not also fair. We don't really want to browbeat them. We don't want them to get physically harmed or to vex them. We want as much as possible to have an open space for valid criticism. Pati yung mga mga kantsaw, mga ganon. Pwede yan. Kaya nga nilalabanan natin yung sinasabi ni Maria Ressa na fake news na yan. I think that if we are spreading information of any kind, as long as it doesn't harm anybody, then that is allowed by the freedom of speech. Pero, wag naman po tayong mag-ano, yung masyadong nangiinsulto to the point that it becomes vexatious. And then that becomes a crime. Uh, Sabi ni Eminus Lipus, for so many years, people were mind conditioned with teleserye, removing the ability of people to do critical thinking. Yes. Uh, Learn with Teacher Jeff says, makakasuhan po ba ako pag pinakulang ko si Madam? Fortunately, no. Legal po pa rin po yun. It's like, makakasuhan ba ako sa Lenny kung sabihin kong lugaw at ampaw? Hmm. Well, as long, lugaw at ampaw. I don't think so. Okay? I don't think so. But ako, I always like to advise people na if it does not do any good, yung speech natin, to try to temper it. I know you don't like her. I don't like her as well. Ugh. But better to limit our criticism to what she does. And yeah, I agree that we can make valid criticism of her inability to think logically or speak clearly or even speak logically or even come across as coherent. Mahalata na ako. Alam ko nanggigigil kayo. And so far, I think that the fact that ang dami-dami natin nagsasabi ng ganon still protects us. Nevertheless, wag pong tatawid into libel. Okay? I want everybody to be safe and I don't also want your accounts to be taken down. Lagi kong sinasabi yan sa kanya na lugaw, ampaw at makapal. Okay. All right, so it's been more than an hour. The dogs are being patient. But thank you very much for being here and for very intelligent questions. Let's recap. Si Senator Laila nag-file ng motion for recon dun sa dismissal ng kanyang demurrer to evidence in the case of the Ragos case against her and Ronnie Dayan for violation of Section 5, which is trafficking. The evidence points to her receiving money that was sent by one of the drug lords in exchange uh, for their sale, which were the proceeds of their sale of drugs. Okay? Na both of them, both Senator Laila and Mr. Dayan filed their motions for reconsideration and the court denied the motions for reconsideration today. Now, what Senator Laila can do is she might allege grave abuse on the part of the court and try to bring it again to a higher court, or she is now compelled to present evidence in her trial. I would like to point out one interesting fact is that she seems to be fighting very hard not to be asked to present evidence, not to present evidence. And that will make us think, why? Why? Diba? Why don't you want to present evidence? Don't you have any? Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share, and follow Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan. If you're having trouble seeing it, you can also join the Luminous group where more interesting discussions are there. So that you'll see I post in both the group and in the main page. And for those who are on Facebook but not on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because if anything happens to our Facebook, then we will always be on YouTube and vice versa. But YouTube kasi has better standards. Okay, they don't easily take down. Okay, maraming salamat. I hope everybody has a good weekend. I have to think of a topic for our live for this weekend, but we will have one. Magandang gabi sa lahat. Thank you for being here with me. Night.